Hi there. Our names are Emily, Lauren, and Marina. Today we're going to dive into the 19th century Midwestern society. During this time, we found that a lot of people spent significant amounts of time and effort attempting to modernize Missouri and bring about a close-knit society that could grow and learn from one another. These changes were found on the idea of modernizing the state, farming, family, and society. Throughout the 19th century, households were quite traditional. Traditional being a father, a mother, and maybe 2 to 3 children. The father was the quote-unquote breadwinner, and the mother was the one who stayed at home with the children. She made sure that the house stayed clean, looked clean, took care of the kids, made meals, and made clothing for her family. In attempts to modernize the state, it was thought that it was needed to begin at the home level. This meant that women were encouraged to move outside of the home and join in the reform movements that were found in public schools, church groups, and other reform efforts. By the late 19th century, women had their own press association. The 1890s were considered the beginning of the Progressive Era. This era lasted from the 1890s to about the 1920s. During this time, Missouri began to see a shift from being a completely rural area to an industrial-based agricultural society. Missourians placed a lot of stock in their farms and their cattle. Cattle were sent to Kansas City, where they were butchered and sent across the whole nation. The early 19th century was home to 2 major groups of family styles. These were American and French styles. In the French-style household, women tended to be associated with being head of the house, while the American-styled household, we found the women being much more submissive to their husbands and taking care of their house and children while the man went to work on the farm. While many people were making the transition from a solely agricultural-based work to factory-based work, it was difficult for the entire family to get used to. Before this time, there were no child labor laws in place. Therefore, a lot of pressure was placed on children to get jobs at such a young age to make money in order to help provide for their family. There was still time, however, for the families to sit around the radio and listen to the local news together. They also got to do activities like skating, listening to music, read books, and dream of a better tomorrow. While slavery was no longer legal during this time, racism was still in full effect. The idea of separate but equal was deemed legal in the year 1896 during the Supreme Court case Plessy v. Ferguson. This allowed for the separation of races. For example, white-only and black-only restrooms, water fountains, seating on public transportation, etc. All these changes led to the people in society becoming more and more interested in each other and the ways in which society was intertwined. Mental photograph journals were first created in the 1890s. Questionnaires consisting of the same 40 questions were distributed and their answers were recorded and edited together by a man named Robert Saxton Ritten. These questionnaires were distributed from 1893 to 1897. They were created with the intention to serve as a record of likes, dislikes, and personal beliefs of those living in Woodland, Missouri. These journals were created in a time of progression. In order to move forward and grow as a society, we need to understand our surroundings. These include getting to know the people, places, and activities that are prominent in society. By creating such a book, it allows the people of Missouri to learn more about their neighbors than what meets the eye. The level of interest these people have in one another is quite extraordinary. Was done during the years of 1893 to 1897. We are going to focus on 9 of the 40 questions asked. These questions are as follows. Question number 1. What is your favorite season of the year? Question 2. What era would you choose to live in? Question 3. Where would you like to live? Question 4. What is your favorite occupation? Question 5. What is your favorite amusement? Question 6. What trait of character do you most admire in a man? Question 7. What trait of character do you most admire in a woman? Question 8. If not yourself, who would you be? And question 9. What are the saddest words? We chose these questions over the others because these questions allow us to delve deeper into the minds of both Miss Nellie Newman and Miss Edna Newman. Throughout mental photograph number 1, Miss Nellie Newman completed this journal on August 9th in the year 1894. For question 1, what is your favorite season? She answered, winter. Question 2, the present. Question 3, California. Question 4, traveling. Question 5, skating. Question 6, intellect and generosity. Question 7, modesty and availability. Question 8, a boy. Question 9, it might have been. In mental photograph number 2, Miss Edna Earl Newman completed the journal in 1894. For question 1, what is your favorite season? She answered, summer. Question 2, the present. Question 3, the South. Question 4, reading. Question 5, listening to music. Question 6, honor and intellect. Question 7, modesty. Question 8, a man. Question 9, too late. Looking at these two examples from the Missouri Mental Photograph Journal, we see a lot of commonalities. While the seasons these women preferred differed, the era in which they wanted to live remained the same, the present. When asked where you would like to live, Miss Nellie said California, while Miss Edna said the South. Living in the South would allow for more acceptance of the idea of being separate but equal. Is this her reasoning for wanting to live in the South? It really could be a possibility. The responses for the trait of character of man and female were very similar. Both women found intellect to be an important trait for men, while in females the important trait was a high level of modesty. This showed the double standards and differing sexual standards between men and women. The most interesting question and answer for this journal was question number 8. If not yourself, who would you rather be? Both women answered, a man. Men in the 19th century had a considerable amount of rights compared to that of a woman. Men held the right to vote, own property, work outside of the home, amongst many other things. It is interesting these women and other women in the journal, but not shown here, responded in a similar manner. The saddest words were consistent in the idea of something not happening as you thought it should. For example, relationships often experience these moments of being too late or it might have been. Miss Nellie and Miss Edna, we thank you for your insight into the mindset of a 19th century Midwestern woman. This primary source gave these historians a more in-depth look into the social life and beliefs of those living in the late 19th century.